Welcome back to Introduction to Engineering Design. This is exercise 4.1G, question 1b, and we're going to basically do the exact same part that we just modeled additively, except we're going to make this one subtractive. In other words, we're going to extrude a base component and then cut away the material that surrounds it. So let's look at this and figure out the best way to do it. And a couple different things I could do. I can see that the overall essence shape of this is an L. And if I extrude that L out a distance of 0.5 plus 1.5 plus 0.5 or 2.5 inches, I'll have the basis for myself to make two cuts, a cut at the top and a cut on the bottom. So let's go ahead and do that. To do that, I'll go File, New, Part. And I'm going to start again with an extruded boss base command. It will ask me where I want to sketch. I'm going to choose to sketch in the front plane, and I'm going to start by sketching an L. Notice I get a horizontal glyph, vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal to drop back down to my origin. It shades because it is a closed body, and I'm going to go ahead and hit my check mark to get out of my line command. Need to apply some dimensions. I'm underdefined. So the first dimension that I'm going to apply is the overall length of the body. You'll see that that is 3.5. Notice when I click drop, I can just type right over. I don't need to put in units or do anything else that will slow me down there. It knows what my unit is. 2.5 tall, and I'll extrude it 2.5 deep. So come in here, 2.5, and I need to give a dimension. To the height is 1 inch, and the depth of the side of the L is 1 inch. So 1 inch here. Sorry, I just clicked on this midpoint, which I shouldn't have. And 1 inch there, fully defined. Exit my sketch, goes right into a command to extrude. I'm going to go ahead and roll it around and look, and let me flip the direction of the extrusion and make that extrusion 2.5 inches. Now that looks pretty darn close to what we need to do. I'll pop up my Word document here real quick, and it looks like it's 2.5 deep, 3.5 wide, 2.5 tall. So it all looks appropriate. I'll accept it, and there's my part. So now looking at this part, what I need to do now is to cut a notch out of the top and a notch out of that bottom floor. So looking at these notches, you can see that they're essentially rectangles. A rectangle out of the top, a rectangle out of the bottom. So let's draw those two rectangles. I'm going to start with the command Extruded Cut on the first one. Choose the surface I'm going to cut on, which is the top. Choose my rectangle tool, and I'll use a corner rectangle. You may have it set at center rectangle or 3-point, but all you got to do is to click the drop down, choose corner rectangle. I'm going to hover over an edge, and you'll notice that I get a glyph, that coincident glyph. Click once, release, and drag down. Click a second time. Now all I have to do to fully define this rectangle, because I told it it's the width of that L shape, or it's the width right here, all I need to do is tell it how long is this line, and then where does the rectangle lie in relation to the rest of the top. So let's look at those two dimensions, and you can see that I need to go 0.5 inches, and it's 1.5 inches tall total. So let's do those two dimensions. Let's make this distance from the corner to the line 0.5, and make the distance from the top to the bottom of the rectangle 1.5. Go ahead and accept that dimension. I'm fully defined. exit my sketch, and now SOLIDWORKS is asking me, hey, how deep do you want to cut this? Well, it's given me the default of 2.5 because that was the last number that I typed into an extrusion. I obviously don't want to go that deep, but if I look at my model, I want to go about 0.5 inches deep. So I'll change this to 0.5. Now you'll notice a couple things here. I can swap the direction of the cut. What do you think would happen if I tried to cut air above where there's no material? Yeah, SOLIDWORKS would give me an error. So I don't want to do that. I'm going to go ahead and cut down 1/2 inch. Looks appropriate, accept my cut. Now you'll notice I've got my top shape. Let's go through and do the second cut, except this time I'm going to start with a sketch on my surface, and I'm going to trace out this shape right there. 1.5 inch tall rectangle by 0.5, 1 inch from either side. So I start with my center rectangle tool again, hover over this bottom line, get the coincident glyph, click once, drag it up, drop it. Now let's go right in to give it a dimension. I said it was going to be 0.5 wide, 1.5 deep, and you'll notice that it's still underdefined. So if I don't understand why, I grab a blue dot and see why it moves around, and you can pretty obviously see what I need to do. I need to give it some relation between the edge and the cutout. So let's look at what that relationship is. Looks like it's about 1 inch in from the edge. So I'll choose my dimension from the edge, over and in. So now I've got a sketch. It's fully defined sketch. I'm going to go ahead and exit my sketch. Now, because I didn't tell it what I wanted to do with that sketch before I started, I need to go to my Features tab and now tell it I want to do an extruded cut. Now, this extruded cut is deeper than 1/2 inch. If we look at the drawing, it goes all the way through the bottom. So I'm going to show you 2 ways we can do that. I can tell it to go 1 inch down, so let's do that first. If I say go 1 inch down, blind, you can see that it will cut down to the bottom. So that's a blind command. I can reverse that also. Another way I can do this is I can say through all. Notice it doesn't ask me for a dimension here. It just says, hey, you want to cut through everything that's beneath here, right? Right. That's another technique. Another way I can do that is I can go up to a surface. So I'm going to cut in that direction until I hit this surface. Does the same thing. Those 3 are unique in how they behave, and they're quite useful. Up to surface, up to vertex, up to next are all similar. Offset from a surface and up to a body are again similar as well. So we'll get to use those quite a bit. Doesn't matter what you want to do. You can go through all or up to surface. I'll choose up to surface, accept it, cut my notch out. Now you'll notice I've got a fully defined part. Everything looks great. As you see, all my sketches don't have minuses. And also notice over here in the tree, I've only got 3 steps. I extruded, I cut, and I cut. I could do this with many, many more steps, but I'm looking for it to be efficient and universal so that I can easily modify it in the future. So that's exercise 4.1g, 1b, question 1b. Save this as 4.1g, question 1b, just like I asked you to, and then submit it in Canvas as a part file. That's it. Thanks for watching.